riding down Highway 61. Sides of the roads all lined with fields, nothing but sunset in the windshield. Feel it as soon as I ride into town. This is where I go to slow down. Miles and miles of soybeans and corn. I'm in the place where the blues was born. About a mile from the big muddy river, place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can feel my worries drift away from being out in the sun all day. No matter where in the world I go, I'll always find home on the banks of that oxbow.
What's up, guys? Justin Barry here, back at the Crappie Connection. Got myself and my brother from another mother.
Brad Chappell here.
Hey, we got Robert Robinson, a.k.a. WSD.
Hey, what's up?
And we got his buddy here, Robby Tiffie. He owns Rob's Tackle out of Heavener, Oklahoma. Guys, welcome, man.
Come on, come on.
That would be Heavener.
Heavener, yeah.
Yes, he.
Come on, man.
Glad to be
I
here.
can't pronounce
We're
real stuff real
rednecks,
good.
but still yet, you know.
So, I got to ask, what does WSD stand for? Because I have no clue.
So,
He knew it was
what's
coming.
it been? 8 or 9 years ago, I joined Crappie.com chapter in Oklahoma.
I think everybody starts out with Crappie.
So, when you join Crappie.com, they don't want you to use your name.
Right.
So, I've got a friend that lives in Oklahoma, around Wister, and his two boys always called me Slab Daddy because they would ask Dad, how come we go with Robert and we catch crappie, and then when you take us out, we don't catch nothing. So I couldn't use that, you know, because Slab, he owns crappie. And I thought, well, you know, I fish Wister all the time. So how about Wister Slab Daddy? And that's where my screen name started, and then it just went from there. And
It got hooked.
WSD.
People holler that out in public, and my wife loves it because my face turns as red as this rod.
Does it really?
Oh, I can't. It just kills.
Does she call you that?
Well, she calls me some kind of daddy, but I don't know about the slab part.
All right, all right. All kind of good stuff coming
Oh,
out.
yeah, there you go.
Well, Brad, I'll let you dive in. I'm probably got some questions underneath your sleeve real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've got, of course, the Tide Huckabee pole here, and, you know, we're going to just start out. We're going into the springtime fishing, you know, Wister there. Kind of give us some insight what's going to be happening there. When's kind of the peak time to come visit that lake?
Well,
is
Wister is a flood control lake.
Okay.
So when I fished Wister a couple of weeks ago, the lake was up 3 foot. I had a memory pop up 3 years ago. It was up 26, 27 foot.
Right.
So I kind of like it myself because, as you know, during the springtime, a lot of crappie die because you're you know, one of the questions, and I'm sure you've been asked, hey, when do you think crappie season's going to start? Well, when's crappie season going to start?
I want to know when it stops.
January through December is what I tell them.
Yeah.
So in the last couple of years, my lake's been flooded, so we go other places. But when it's not, all the parking lots are full. You have whatever 10 to 20 foot off the bank to yourself, you know, and you know why you're going to be that far off, because right before all the males move up, where's the females?
Staged out.
Exactly. But more and more now, these guys are watching me where they always seen these long rods and they thought I was catfishing. Now they're learning that I'm not catfishing anymore. I'm crappie fishing. So, but I go in detail. But so you're going to get, all the campgrounds will be busy from, we'll just say a normal year where it's not flooded. And it's looking like possibly this year will be that way. I don't know, late March, you know, all the way through April, first part of May. People will come from all over. Used to, and you can chime in when you want to, but we didn't have all these out-of-towners. But some guy posts videos on Facebook
WSD.
about
Spoiler.
what is going on with the lake.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And, I mean, it's just the lake is gone viral,
Yeah.
you know.
I never heard of that lake, and I fished. I don't know how many lakes through Arkansas and even Oklahoma, but I've never heard that lake until I started watching you. It's
Yeah,
like
Lake
oh,
Wister,
oh, wow.
WISTR. Huh?
Mhm. Yes. And I got to where, you know, I wouldn't say it was arrogant, but confident. And I don't know one time that I couldn't back it up, but there were so many 2-pound fish there that I could guarantee you at least one.
Right.
You know, and that's not saying much from where you fish,
Right.
but we're talking about, you know, God, I wished I'd have looked, and I can't remember how many acre. Do you remember how many acre lake it is?
Oh, I got it pulled up right here. It's almost 50,000 acres.
Oh wow,
It's 49.4 to be
Okay.
exact.
And that's not large, but
49,000 or
It's-
100.
383 acre foot
so
water volume.
So,
49,400 acre
the
foot.
lake isn't that large.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes it so great is we've got miles of two rivers. The Podo River,
Foreche.
I don't know, 10-mile Fush. The
Fush. I
Yep.
can't pronounce
Yep, that's
nothing
on the
out there in
west end.
Oklahoma.
That's on the west end. So a year ago, at this time, and I've had a lot of people message me, say, hey, I went to the Fush.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong? A year ago, me and him run over there. We go up in the Fush and we murder them, make a post. We have another boat or two. And then we said, hey, we're going Saturday. The fish are stacked in the middle. We had, 18 or 28 boats. One of his buddies flew over with an airplane and took pictures and sent them to him and said, and,
Something's happening over there.
you know,
Fishing bite.
some of the locals get aggravated because of me sharing it, but they are secretively, I would say they're my number one fans because you never see them until I make my post, and that's where they'll be there, and they'll make comments like, yeah, if you post it, they'll come, you know.
I'm
But-
a local.
You're a local?
I'm
But
a
he's
local.
usually in my boat.
Uh-huh.
I can't get rid of him. You know, it's kind of like a ex-girlfriend.
I used to be
Right.
that
Do
guy
you ever really
that
get
would
rid of them?
complain
Yeah.
about, hey, don't tell them where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, just say Wister Lake. But no, he's going to say we're up in the Fush. They're in the middle of the channel. And then the next day, there's 25
8 or
boats
10 foot down.
in the
He's-
middle of the channel.
He's spreading the love of the sport.
And here's why.
Well-
It's like, well, they can go catch them fish. We'll go find more. And,
Well, I
and I
think-
get it now. And
right.
I didn't used to get it because I'd like, don't tell everybody where we're at because they're going to be here.
They're going to catch our fish.
They're going to catch our fish.
Yeah.
Well, we're sharing those fish.
Well, I think, one of the things that's changing in this sport, years ago, and everybody that we've interviewed has been totally 100% honest, in my opinion, and theirs as well. Crappie fishing has changed into more of, hey, we're going out and we're going to help everybody out. We're going to show you what we're doing and how we're doing it. So my hat's off to you guys to even telling them where you're fishing at the lake. Usually I'm kind of like you. I have people kind of look from my boat and then they join me as well. And it don't bother me. I do a lot of guide trips in the spring. They say, well, if we fish one day on our own, do you mind if we follow you the next 2 days? And first thing I tell them is, no, I don't mind at all. But you probably, not set up the way I am, how I fish. But let's go into what some of the baits they need to use or at least bring with them to go fish Wister in the spring.
Yeah, and how big do them crappie get out there on Wister?
The lake record is 4.2. That's the lake record.
When was that caught?
So slab.
2010, and that's the last year I caught a 3-pound fish out of Wister.
2010 was the last year.
2010. So 10 years ago, a 4.2, like Todd always preached, in some of his seminars. I think the guy was on a pontoon boat. I don't
With a minnow
know,
and a
with a
cork.
minnow and a cork, and I don't have anything against that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, and he's like, "Oh my God, what did I just do?"
We got Moby Dick here.
I mean,
Yeah.
a 4.2.
I don't know.
I mean, I've not seen one, but I saw the
If I caught one, you would see it. I can
I'm
promise
sure.
you that.
I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure there wouldn't be a scale left
50
on it. I
selfies.
definitely have to get a replica.
Yeah. I'd be like, we're just going to freeze it, and then I'm about to take it around and show it for a couple hours, freeze it, take it around and show it a couple
Scales
hours.
be off of it from pulling it in and out.
Definitely.
Right. So I've got lots of friends that fish the lake.
Mm-hmm.
I exclusively use a redneck rubber bait, which is made by, it's a beaver bottom made by a redneck rubber. And that long rod.
Is that 13?
No, this is actually an Elite. It's a 10.6. Actually, Todd designed that. Todd and, a few other guys. You can see that. You see that bait?
Oh, yeah, we can see it.
What's that color called?
That is frosted mug.
Frosted mug. I like that.
Frosted mug.
And of course, that's a Timmy Tom's 1/8 ounce. That's what I use, an 1/8 ounce a lot.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys with live scope, they're wanting to use a quarter.
Right.
I've got all the time in the world.
Mhm.
So let it get, and with me pitching it, it doesn't have to get down there as fast. I'm not opposed to a quarter.
I like these companies, and Bobby Garland, I know, is kind of famous for, putting these very unique names. I love it when these companies put these unique names on these baits.
Oh, you ought to hear some of them.
What's the craziest one they got out?
You got a salty dog.
Salty dog.
Salty dog?
What color is
Is
that?
there a drink like that, salty dog?
Yeah, let me pull
so.
up the
you,
let me
Ron.
pull up the.
The ash down, smack
I
down.
got
Is
the
really
ash
good
down,
on our
smack
lake.
I almost had to beep you. You know that.
It's ash down, like it's an ash down,
Yeah,
Arkansas.
yeah, ash
Right.
down.
I got you.
It
We've got monkey butt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? That's a black with a pink opaque tail. Cherry mash, lightning bug, thunderbug, fried pickle, and fried okra. How I
Fried
tell people-
okra.
fried okra.
Oh, my gosh, that is funny.
So,
I love
and
when
the
they do
difference I
that.
tell them,
That's fun.
because they're both pumpkin bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and the fried pickle.
What if he's walking in Walmart and you're like, dude, you know the guy's talking about crappie fishing, and then he comes on and says, man, I caught it on that okra, and they'll be like, what?
No, fried okra.
Yeah.
fried okra. And the difference between the two, the fried pickle, it's a solid chartreuse tail, and okra, just think of okra seeds, because the chartreuse tail has black specks in it, so it's pretty. But salty dog, Truman tornado, screwdriver, fire alarm, ash down, smack down. No, you don't have to beat me. Bluegrass, that's pretty. Pink panther, frostbite, dreamsicle, Mardi Gras, frosty mug, white, lightning, voodoo.
I just think it gives these jig colors complete identity.
It does, and they're actually so
Personalities.
the names. If you Google them, those colors are kind of in there.
Right.
Kind of like.
Well, I don't know about like monkey milk. We talked about that with those Bobby Garland guys a while back. How they come up with that color is just amazing to me.
Yeah, the story behind it, how they actually come up with it. When we was talking earlier before we went on air, you said you was talking to a guy that was watching some of your videos, and you was asking him to be specific. And I think you mentioned that you trim your tails.
So
Go in depth on what you do on
Well,
that.
I wished I had a knife or a box knife or something.
Just
but
bite it.
So yeah, I hear you. So
I got a knife right here. Hold
some
on.
of the guys are. I'm a guy that I don't want to just go after 50% of the general public. I want them all. Okay, and when I say I want them all, I want them to understand that how versatile this bait is. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard. I don't know if you use these any at all or if y'all have, but so a lot of our guys popping a cork, or just the guys that are on the, the Bobby Garlands or the Boneheads, which is nothing wrong with the baits at all. There's not a bad bait out there. That. So they say this bait's too big. Okay, but they won't give it a try. So what I've been doing on my latest videos, probably for the last 6-8 months, probably.
No.
Go ahead and talk. Go ahead
Take
and
over,
talk.
take over, Robby.
Go
Just
ahead and
show him how you. Here,
Yeah, go ahead.
here. Put your
Yeah.
hands right over here and do it in front of this camera if you don't care.
I was going to let you go ahead and talk.
Okay. So what I've been showing them is, and what I've done is I've taken that exact bait,
Right.
and I put it just like that on a hook. And I have proven it because I'm a guy that I have to prove to myself.
Right.
So I'll put the full bait down there. And you know how some of them have shied away from them.
Oh, you're splitting the tail too, huh?
So
Okay.
I've got the bait like what he's doing. So what I'll do is I'll cut 2 or 3 of the ribs off, which is shortening it. And then I'll split the tail, and then I'll fork the tail.
Okay.
So when you catch a crappie and he's got a shad in him, what do you see?
Yeah, his tail laid out.
So
That's right.
I'm going to say 40 to 50% of the fish that shied away from the full size, I've dropped this down, little different profile, different tail. 30 to 50% of them have ate it that wouldn't eat it on the regular, and you know that's just because I don't want these guys to say this bait is too big for me.
You know, one thing that always aggravated me about, and years ago I'm talking, you know, I'd go to a boat ramp and say, hey, they biting today? And, of course, well, yes or no. And I always really found it intriguing when they said no, because then I would ask them, well, you know, what was you using? And they said, well, you know, I used my favorite color, this black and chartreuse jig, and they just didn't, they ain't biting. Well, first thing I knew at that point was no, go out there and try that color. So they kind of eliminated some of the guesswork because that was something that I wasn't going to try. But what I'm getting at is I think even by just manipulating these baits, by cutting little pieces off of them and splitting these tails.
Changing the profile.
Changing the profile and the action. Just that's one of the things I can say what we've learned with live scope is little details make all the difference. And it's been proven by, you know, these guys that have dominated the tournament trails through the past. These small details is what win them.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And, you know, day in and day out, everybody goes fishing, number one, to catch fish and, you know, enjoy the outdoors and all that. But crappie fishing, most of those guys go out there to catch something to eat.
Right.
So if you learn how to keep adjusting with these small little details by cutting even the tails or changing the size,
just changing the profile.
Keep changing.
Most definitely. And another thing I've noticed, you know, people brought up, I know Todd talks about it in his seminars, you know, changing the profile, you know, which what we've done. So I can ask Robby or any of our pro staff, what are my 2 favorite colors out of all of those? Now, I can catch them on all of them. So here's the studies that I've done. I've taken several of the different colors, trim them up, leave them whole, and drop them in front of fish. Because if me and my wife want to eat fish, I'll go out and catch 3 or 4. I go home.
Yeah.
So it's not about the catch as much as it is about learning now that we have a tool that's showing us.
Yeah.
So I'm dropping colors down. And colors aren't as important anymore as we thought they were fishing dirty or clear water. And, you know, like, and I keep saying Todd, but, I mean, a lot of guys, I mean, they know him and they've seen his seminars. So, and you as well. I mean, you say, used to, it was your opinion. It's not an opinion anymore because we're seeing what's going on.
Right.
So, on this color thing, so what I do is I go along and I'm using, say, a June bug body with an orange tail, or you know, we've got a Wister Wildcat. I mean, that's my color. I want a school bus yellow with a pearl tail. And Todd calls me up and says, "Dude, are you nuts?" And I said, "What?"
I can hear Todd saying that.
Yeah. And he says, "School bus yellow with a pearl tail?" And I said, "Well, I mean, Steve asked me." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I'd like to have." He said, "I'm just pulling your chain, man. That's awesome color." So what I'm doing is I'm putting these colors down. You catch fish. Well, I'm not keying on the fish that I catch. I'm keying on the fish that we all talk about that won't bite.
Right.
50% of the fish that won't bite, I mean, I have proven it time and time again with my own study. I can catch them on a frosted mug or a white lightning. Now, I'm not saying because I was using a beaver bottom bait that color, but what I've noticed personally is the more closer to shad color baits. So, you know, of course you're going to pre-fish before a tournament, but more than likely I'm going to go with, you know, where I'm catching 50% of the fish on a dark color bait, and then I'm going with this and catching 50% of the 50% that didn't bite. I'm going to use it the whole time. So what I've noticed about live scope is the more shad colors, and I don't know if you've noticed the same. So, and here's what happens, and I hate to say this on radio. So it just happened. What color have I been using here lately? Salty Dog. So Jelco Sports and Outdoors in Fort Smith. He said, dude, you've ordered me like 5 or 6 orders of beaver bottom bait. I said, okay. We've not sold one package of Salty Dog. Go back 2 weeks ago, Monday and Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday, I can't remember. I used a Salty Dog all morning long, 2 days. Smoked them. I went by Wednesday to take his order. There was no Salty Dogs. He said, dude, they come in.
You posted it, right?
Huh?
You posted it.
My video.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what I do. So on my videos, we'll just get that out of the way. When I get done fishing, you know, I'll either go live or I will go just shoot a video and tell them where I'm at, which a lot of times I'm on Wister. I have been on Kerr. I was on Kerr a couple weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I don't remember. They all run together. So I go in detail. I tell them just exactly where I'm at. You know, I'm talking, you know, you go to this window here and you go 10 foot over here, over there by where the room's not finished yet, and you get in the corner and there's a brush pile or there's, you know, a channel break or whatever, and I'm fishing. The fish were suspended 8 foot in 16 foot of water, and this is the bait I'm using. You know, full detail. And then the next day I go out there's like 6 boats sitting there.
What's your normal setup? Is it a single jig setup, double setup? What knot are you using? Tell me about when WSD goes crappie fishing. What's on his pole?
Pre-live scope was double dipping like we all done. I use Lowrance graphs. I use sonar. So what I would do is I would go out and I would use down imaging, side imaging, find the fish, okay, kind of see where they're at. And then I would, of course, I've got a trail marked, and then I would turn around, turn my front unit on, sonar, traditional sonar with map, and I would go back over it, double dipping. Of course, you know, you've used sonar, you can see the fish. You know, one of the things guys like to tell me that you can't get on them quick enough because sonar's picking underneath you. Well, have you ever pulled up to a bridge abutment with sonar? I mean, you can see the bridge abutment from here to that wall. So it does give you a little forward. But now with live scope, I use pre-live scope, 2 rods, 2 jigs, 2 jigs, you know, and here we go. And I've got either he would be behind me on each side, or if I had 2 guys with me, they'd be on each side. And I mean, it's like, you know, we're spider rigging through there. Now with live scope, I did start out with, you know, putting a weight like we all done, and then it got all, you know, jumbled up or whatever, which I didn't do that in front of the camera, but anyways. But now this is it. This is it right here. I mean, I'm using 1/8 ounce. So people say, well, how big are the brush piles you're fishing? With live scope, 75% of the time, I'm probably not fishing a brush pile. Why are you using a weedless jig? And here's the
You're reading
deal.
my mind. What
Here's the
Yeah,
deal.
that's what I was sitting
Here's
looking
the
at
deal
it.
that always gets me.
Let me see that jig. I want to look at it.
So the biggest question is, does that weedless jig head hinder you catching fish? Yeah, I only want to catch 1 out of 10. You know, I know it doesn't hinder me. I mean, I've used double dipping. I've used 2 non-weedless and 2 weedless, and I miss or catch. Well, I preach to these guys, and they correct me every time. We do not miss fish, because when you go fishing, your intention is not to miss a fish. They miss us, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So now this is my setup right here. Of course, I'm using
1 jig, not 2, right?
1 jig, and here's why. In the same way with the weight. You know, how many times have you had fish come up and hit the weight?
Oh, yeah.
Well, in a jig, you know, they'll come up and hit it. But what if you split that fish?
Right.
Okay, and you're like, oh my God, am I going to bring the bottom jig up to him or the top jig down to him? You hit him with the line, what does he do?
Gone.
Okay.
Too much scenarios crossing your mind.
Exactly. So I'm using a single jig. That way I'm concentrating on the fish, on the jig, and the bait, and that's it. I don't have to worry about except for when he throws out. I don't have to worry about hitting the fish with the line.
Right. What about colors of jig head? I know. Give me 5 colors for Wister, and is it
Jig heads, baits, what?
Well, we'll start out with the colors, as far as the jig bodies.
So, Redneck Rubber has made a color for me, which is a Wister Wildcat. It's a school bus yellow and pearl. I mean, we can't keep them. I mean, they eat them up. But it is seasonal. There's no doubt, and you know this. I mean, like, I'm gonna turn this around on you. So, spring versus midsummer versus fall. I mean, does the same color work January through December?
No, and I honestly, and I've said it a bunch on this podcast, is I think a lot of lakes have personalities, and that's what, even about the colors might work great for your lake, and then all of a sudden you go to a lake 3 miles down the road and might not get a sniff on it.
Right.
Because I think they got so many personalities, and even seasonal personalities.
Well, just like when he's talking about the salty dog. I had that frosted mug on. I'm sticking that bait in the fish's face. He drops that salty dog in there. Bam. He's got one. He goes, get one. I stick it out there. Nothing. He sticks the salty dog in there. Bam. About the third one, I'm like, you got any more of them salty dogs? Nope, we're out.
Oh, my.
But I hate to keep bringing him up, but he has so many good points, Todd. So, like he tells the audience, and sorry, Todd, for using your saying, but anyways, so you go to a restaurant and you take 25 people.
Oh, yeah.
You know what the saying is?
Yeah.
All 25 or 30 people will order almost everything on the menu.
Right.
And, however, I'm going to throw my part in there. I'm still high on shad color baits. I don't care if it's mud with live scope. Pre-live scope, not so much, because I think because we cannot put the bait on the fish's nose, I think we need that extra color to make them come to it.
Right.
Now, so back to your question before we move on. Colors on Wister, of course, we've got guys, black and chartreuse, of course, but a lot of shad colors, Frosty Mug, the Silver Tongue Devil. That's one of the baits.
That's the STD.
STDs, he calls it, but it's Silver Tongue Devil. That's what it stands for. Don't believe it.
Right.
But
I named that one.
it is a clear with silver flake in it with a chartreuse tail on it. It's a pretty good one. Ashdown Smackdown for a long time. I mean, we sold out of it constantly because me and all the guys were just wearing the fish out. I mean, pre-live scope.
Fried
Tearing
okra.
them up. Fried okra.
Fried okra is good on our lake.
Of course, and when we say fried okra, I mean the public here don't know what we're talking about, but it is a pumpkin chartreuse bait, which works on several lakes. Pumpkin chartreuse, black and chartreuse, and a lot of your light colored baits. Now let's move to the jig heads. Do you know why I use a colored jig head? Because Tim Cumbie, that owns Timmy Tom Jig Company, says he cannot have me out there using unpainted jig heads because I am not a color freak on a jig head at all. However, you like that word, don't you? If he's going to make me use color, it's going to be a solid pearl or a chartreuse, and he didn't send any. These were actually to bring to Wade to see if. So what I had him do is he took a pearl and a traditional pink, mixed them together, and made me a bubble gum or a pink pearl.
Right.
And it really stands out in the water. But I've used unpainted versus painted because I'm a guy that wants to test everything, and I see absolutely no difference in the results with live scope. So, I mean, I don't know. You can't go wrong with any color. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of guys want the green head, they want the pink head, the orange. I mean, in Oklahoma, all the muddy lakes, I mean, it's orange.
Yeah.
And 99% of the jig heads tied on are orange.
Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah, people.
I like an orange jig.
We like orange.
Just like blades, I like a bronze blade. over a silver blade, because most of the water that I always fish is a muddy color.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
So-
what color is the shad? Is it bronze
Right.
or is it silver?
I don't know to a fish.
Okay, well, we'll never know.
Right.
We'll never know.
It's just more of like what you got that confidence back into.
Right.
I like how you're actually dissecting everything that you're learning off the live scope. You're actually putting numbers to it, breaking it down, what's not working, what is working, and why. I haven't actually sat down and talked to somebody to where it's like you just said earlier. I believe you said you're after the fish that's not biting, trying to figure it out.
Well, I'm after them all, but I like the ones that won't bite because I can do all these tests. You can't do tests on a fish that bites.
Right.
So I want answers. And when you talk about fish that don't bite, so we've got all these people talking about these long rods, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you want to fish with a long rod, fish with it. So some of the tests, or one of the tests that I've done is, like we all do with live scope, you pull up there, you dip down on the fish, and so your bait's here. Let me see if I can pull this up. That camera's looking at me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you bring, and here comes the fish, and he looks at it, and you bring it over here, you bring it up here. I mean, it's like this. And then what does he do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've
Okay.
seen that.
So I've taken those fish and went a step further, and he can vouch for it, back off. Almost half of those 50% that wouldn't bite, I can pitch out to them. Why, I don't know, other than maybe they see it and it's a reaction. They don't want it to get away because they don't know what it is, but it's something to eat.
Something to kill.
And I can catch them. Okay?
Get excited about it.
So now, which I've kind of slowed down because I've learned with this cooler weather, I think they're more lethargic, and I'm pitching to them and nothing. But here's the thing I tell people about pitching to fish. You're going after that fish, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to sit here and run the trolling motor and have the rod stuck out there and just, okay, I'm going to be to him here in a minute, here we go. Why not pitch out to the fish? Now, boat control, as well as I do, you got to have it all. I mean, because if you see the fish and you throw the bait out there and you kind of barely see it and you turn it to there's no sense of, you might as well just go ahead and reel it in.
Mm-hmm.
But pitch to him. If you catch that fish from here to the door, you don't even have to go that far.
Right.
Just look over here. So Tim calls me and I'm on Wister. And I'm out west, I'm in the middle of the channel, and he's asking me how I'm doing, and I said, dude, there's fish everywhere. I mean, at that time I had, 2 or 3 fish over 2 pounds. I think 240 something was my big fish. And I told him, I said, there's like 12 or 14 fish around me within my 30 foot. I zoom it out 30 foot. And I caught 6 or 7 fish while I got him on the phone because I'm just, and I didn't move very far. I'm pitching to them and I was catching them, and that's, I think in a tournament environment, I mean, how much time did I shave off?
Oh, yeah, time is money in tournaments.
And, I mean, as well as I do, when you set the hook, I mean, how often, I mean, you're bringing him and he's on the deck. I mean, you don't, I don't have a net in my boat. But I mean, I don't lose many fish. I mean, I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm just saying, with the one-odd hooks and the stuff that we've got today, I mean, we hook them and we put
I
them
like
on
a
the
big
deck.
hook.
Yeah, we put them on the deck. But anyways, I like you said, the fish that won't bite, because I get these questions, and I'm sure you do. I mean, what do you do if you pull up to a fish and he follows it around? I mean, do you move on, or
How bad you want him? How bad you want him?
guiding? Well, if he's a big fish,
Exactly.
that's just like if you miss the fish.
Right.
And he's a big one. I chased one, 75, 80 yards on strip pits. I hooked the fish, brought it up a little bit, and it come off. And I mean, it didn't just bolt out of there, but I don't know how much you've dissected live scope.
Mm-hmm.
So what I tell people a lot of the time, when a crappie swims and he's not just super fast, I don't know if you've noticed, swim, glide. And I chased this fish forever. Well, it ended up weighing 240 something, 250 something.
That's a
And
slab.
I had a blast.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Chasing it.
So people ask me about live scope, and I don't know if you're a deer hunter.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've never, ever had anything fishing related
I know where
make
you're going.
me feel like when I'm up in a tree with a bow and
Yep.
this deer that I've had pictures all season long, I'm fixing to get an opportunity.
Fixing to get them.
What are you doing?
You're hunting for 'em.
Mm-hmm.
You are shaking like a dog. I've
Like a
never
salty
had,
dog.
It's salty dog. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that. I've never had that feeling in fishing.
Right.
Now we've learned the difference in size of fish on live scope.
It's
telling
hunting.
you, I'm a wreck.
Hunting slabs.
I'm a wreck.
Hunting slabs.
Well, the guys, so I zeroed during deer season this year. First time in 30-something years. Of course, I videoed a bunch of them and let them walk. But so these guys were saying, why don't you and some of the guys get together and let's come up with a live scope for deer hunting? Which, you know, that's, what do they call it?
Spotlight.
There you go. No, infrared, you know.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, I've never had that, you know,
That
feeling.
feeling.
Other than when you have time to think about it like you do on a deer. But when we went out and we caught a great big fish, you know, the traditional way, it's like, oh, my God, look how big this is. You didn't get that rush, though. I mean, it's like, all right.
You know, it's kind of like me this
Yeah.
past summer, you know, 8-9 months ago, what have you. The bite was terrible. I mean, wasn't catching a lot of fish, and literally I'd get out there 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's 100 degrees. And I knew I wasn't going to catch a lot of fish.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent all summer long burning up because just of that excitement, thinking, man, I'm going to make them whack today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna find some new areas today. It's that hunt.
I love the challenge.
It is the hunt.
It's phenomenal. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And so now with live scope, you know, we'll talk about live scope again. A lot of people are so number one, it's building a lot of people's confidence. I was worried about live scope because of the guys that I know that had to keep every fish every time they went out. So live scope has built their confidence up. And now what I'm seeing is they're actually turning fish loose. And here's why. Because if they want to have a fish fry or they want to go fishing and, you know, they want to go catch some fish because they need them, there's no doubt in their mind they're going to go out and they're going to catch them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's a little different than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be they're going to drain the lakes, you know, from the fish. Now, I know some of the guys, when they first got it, they still kept them, but now I see less and less. And Robby can vouch for this because we've got some pro staff. I don't care if that sucker's that long. They're not turning it loose.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys don't even take them home anymore. I mean, it's totally different than what I thought it was going to be. And it's shortening y'all's day out on the water. But it is an awesome tool. You know, the guys, I know a lot of them in the younger generation, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have to come through the ranks like we did, the traditional.
Well, you know, I remember as a kid, even when I started crappie fishing, and I'm talking 8-9 years old, we would go out to the river, top to a brush top.
Mm-hmm. I'm guilty.
Everybody would have a cane pole, and it would sit on the deck. You know, hook that minnow through the back, and you'd wait on there, and you might get the days that, you know, you'll catch a limit.
Mm-hmm.
But the days that you didn't catch a limit, me as a kid, I was like, man, this is like watching paint dry.
I guarantee you.
And now with, you know, the
Don't
different.
say it. Don't say it.
He's thinking it.
Oh, he knows because I use that saying, but we're not going to say what I use it for. It is fishing related, though.
Okay. But, you know, it's got that excitement to bring in a new generation of crappie fishermen.
Right.
And that's what we all need to get this sport. And I think it's kicked up a new level to
era.
the guys that's been doing it. You know, I'm not saying that I got bored with fishing, but I don't think that would ever happen. But once I got a live scope and I go out there, and like I said, I might catch 6 fish that one day and spend all day long in the burning heat just because it's a whole new technique.
It is.
It is a whole
Very,
new
very
technique.
exciting.
It is.
It's unbelievable.
I've got a buddy of mine, Cody Hamilton. He usually comes up here to Grizzly Jig with us and has a ball with us and everything. And I asked him all week, man, you coming up with us? You coming up with us? And his honest opinion is, man, I got to go crappie fishing. I got to go out with my live scope this weekend. And that's what he's doing right now. because he's got a whole new era of
That's
a
right.
no.
He calls it live scalping.
Yeah, live scalping.
Live scalping.
Well,
live
you
scalping.
know, and people ask me, you know, we use the term crappie fishing.
It's crappie.
Fishing is out of it.
Yep.
I call it crappie catching now because, and I did prove this theory wrong. I went to the lower end of Wister on the Podo, actually where it goes into the Arkansas River, and the guys asked me my opinion about live scope, and I said, if you go to your bodies of water that you know fish are there, there will never be a 0 day. Do you agree with that? I mean, to an extent.
To an extent, I think it's your catch percentage is at least doubled.
Right. So what live scope's done for me is the time of years that I struggle. High water on Wister, acres and acres of water out in the flooded timber, you know, current, cold, muddy water. All of that has disappeared. I mean, I've found them. So we went Wister a month ago or longer. It was cold. Current in the river. We had 4 boats with us. We had 6 fish in 3 or 4 hours. Some of the guys had none. The current was killing us. We went up to a 1/4 ounce jig. We saw a few fish, and we actually fished for them. And you just could, I don't care how far you threw out, and it was in brush structure. And you couldn't get it to them because if you threw too far ahead of them, you'd get in the structure, and then you couldn't get to them.
Right.
So I pulled up in this cove, and it is what creek? Concert Creek. And I told him, I said, I'm either going to be a hero or 0. So the water in Concert Creek is 1 to 6 foot of water. Water temp is 44, 45. Cold. So I ease up through there. What does he do? He's sitting in the passenger side whistling, saying, when you get done screwing
Whistling
off.
Dixie.
Yeah. You know, let's go. So I pull up and I look and I said, hey, there's some fish right there. And I pitch up there and I catch a little black crappie. And I turn and I said, oh my God. I said, if that's a crappie, that's good. The fish was in less than 2 foot of water. And when I say less than 2 foot of water, I don't mean 2 foot down and 6 foot of water. I'm talking 40-something degree water. I pitch up there and the fish weighed almost 1.75 pounds. He gets up. He says, all
okay.
right. So,
Thanks.
so what is it? The first one's a mistake, and the second one is whatever, and then
Right.
from then. So we turned 6 fish into,
Yeah, it was a good day.
I don't know, 30 or so. All the guys left except for one, and they had 3 or 4 fish, and they came up and finished the day, which we didn't get to fish much longer, but 10 or 12 foot. So my point is, I would have never gone in there and fished that shallow.
Well, we went to Oklahoma this past August, and we were fishing in 3 to 5 foot of water.
Oh, August, yeah, you will.
And normally, I always consider, the seasons, winter and summer, deep water conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Fall and spring, shallow water conditions. But LiveScope squished that real quick, squished it.
So we fished shallow water during the summertime for a long time in Oklahoma, and here's why. So when you go out with your traditional stuff, you're aware of the thermocline. I mean, it's, no oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned fishing bass tournaments 20, 25 years, water temp, 97, 98, 100, whatever, and I'm catching these giant bass in 1 to 2 foot of water. So I guess their body can adapt just like we do.
Right.
But there's more oxygen there and they feel more comfortable.
Probably some shade, too.
There's shade, but there's more oxygen than there is. So I get guys ask me about thermocline.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it because most of the guys catfish. And I say, have you ever went out and thrown noodles out or put a trot line out and went and run your lines 30 minutes later and the fish are dead? You caught? So the fish can only swim so long with that weight on the bottom, and then he's give out.
Mm-hmm.
He falls down in there where the oxygen is so low, and it kills him. I didn't know that because I've been guilty of, and I'm like, dadgum, I mean, I only had this out for like 30 minutes, and you go and all your fish are dead, So it is, I mean, it's we didn't put 2 and 2 together, but now with the traditional stuff, I mean, we can, and when you look at the thermocline, I mean, you can I mean, you can see fish may dip down in there, but they're going to come right back out. But it's definitely a big factor.
All right, guys. We definitely appreciate you coming on today.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that means
Looking forward to a lot more.
You said you was going to shut me up.
I
guess
gotcha.
this is it. Okay.
I was warned. Todd did that.
Okay.
Anything else you want to add before we cut
Well,
off?
I do, because of our conversation before now.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of you guys out there that watch a lot of my videos and stuff on, well, we've got some Timmy Tom YouTube videos, but on Facebook itself, I do these videos for the general public, and this is what y'all explained to me. This is
This is what the future is.
this is the future, but you guys are leading the way.
Oh man, appreciate that a whole lot.
Well, and I say that sincerely. And when you told me your little spiel, and I wished you'd repeat that of why y'all's doing this. I mean, Robby knows and the pro staff knows. My heart is for the general public.
Right.
I've had Todd and Todd's trying to get me to start my guide service. Where I do it. And other people, I've had rod opportunities, and like yourself, I'm sure you've had people baits this and jig heads this,
Yeah.
but I appreciate it. I'm a very humbled person, but the public is where it's at. I mean, I want everybody that comes. They ask me, why do you give so much detail on Wister? Because I want everybody that comes to my lake to catch fish every time.
Well, it goes back to our name. What we really foundation is and what we believe in, and it's called the Crappie Connection. And it's just not because it's a cool name, because it's a cool name.
It's
It
a
is
great, cool name.
But,
It is.
but
Just because it's got crappie in it.
when we were thinking about it, we wanted everything. We're all in this together. It's a
Exactly.
connection.
I agree.
All the way around this table.
Right.
And that's what brings us together. And that's where we want to bring the people that want to learn how to crappie fish. Right. We want them to bring them into this sport. And that's a connection that we're trying to make.
Right. So
good,
what you're saying is, so we've got a pro staff page that I built. We've got all the guys there, and I've got a spiel pinned to the top. About. So our main focus is to promote the products that work for us, to help the public as much as we can.
Yep.
But the bottom line, in big bold letters, is what, Robby? It's not I
It's a
or
$1 million
me.
question.
It's not I or me. It's us and we.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, you guys are. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate
But,
a whole bunch.
I appreciate y'all having me on, and he didn't get to say much, but.
Well, Robby, anything you want to add in there, man?
It's obvious when he's talking, just sit back and listen.
I like listening to
He
him.
taught.
I do too.
Hey, he taught me all this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, one thing we'll add real quick is hit that subscribe button. This is what makes the Crop Connection go.
Yeah.
So we've got some great sponsors. Todd Huckabee Poles. We talked about them a good bit today.
Right.
Check them out. I like their page as well.
So you keep saying hit the
Subscribe.
subscribe button,
yeah.
On the YouTube
but
channel.
tell them
Yep.
where they need. I mean,
Well, if you're not on YouTube, Facebook, we're all over Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and it's going to be at the bottom of the screen as well. But
right.
we're all over the place. We're even getting into TikTok now, which that sounds kind of hip hopish, and maybe that's where we're going to.
I'm going to ask my 13-year-old girls how to do TikTok now. So,
But we're going.
That'd be pretty fun with
We're
them.
wanting to get out to everybody, and the biggest way that we need from our viewers is by spreading the word.
yeah,
Right. You got it from us.
So everybody
Yeah,
tuning in and
spread the
listening.
word.
Everybody tuning in and listening. I mean, we're gonna. Me and Brad talked about this, and Hunter as well. Everybody that's tuning in and patting, telling us we're doing a good job. Man, return a favor. Spread the word about
Spread the word.
us as well. Word travels a long way. But other than that, man, we greatly appreciate y'all coming
Hey,
on.
we appreciate y'all having us.
Absolutely.
Doing
Well-
a great job.
Appreciate that again, WSD.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
All right, guys, I'm Justin Barry,
Brad Chappell here.
and guys, we appreciate y'all coming on.
You bet.
All right, see y'all.
Thank you. See you.
Holla.
About a mile from Big Muddy River, a place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I could